Hi everyone, Scofield Thomas, 800 Tech Limited. So our last video that we did, we were talking about how we brainstormed this concept of doing a webinar of an article and being inspired by the writer to create something to help the business community, especially SME sector. And today, Nadia and I would like to share with you some of the backstories, because we've been on this journey for a little bit, and we want to share with you some of the backstories and the reason and the rationale behind why we think it's necessary to create this framework. So we want you to understand and hear that you're not alone. There are other business owners that experience the same thing. Like we spoke the last video, fear. Fear was the number one challenge that we encountered, fear of the unknown. And while we're going through this journey, and initially they'll come to you about they want to implement some technology to help their businesses to be more productive and efficient and stuff like that, and they come to the meetings, whether, well, back then it was face to face, now virtually. They come to the meetings all excited but jittery, of this unknown world that they're going to be entering into. And we first tell them, listen, outline what are you trying to achieve, and then let us see what the strategic objective is, and how we could actually bridge the gap with technology. That's how we always lead off the discussion. But still there's that fear. And then when we start getting into it, we recognize that some people don't have processes documented, you know things like that. And some of the managers, they have fears of, where's my data going to be stored? Is it going to be in the cloud? Is it going to be on-prem? So there's a lot of discussion around that we have to, you know, some things that we have to put into context for them.
But I think, Scofield, we can even step back further than the fear of where their documentation is going to be, in terms of just the human element of, yes, this process needs to take place, but I am not part of being the change agent. Because a lot of times, one of the experiences I've had is you sit with the executive team, they speak about their strategic vision and what at the end of this whole process they want to have happen, but they don't recognize the fact that they have to lead the charge. It's not just enough for your technocrats to pick up and do and execute, but you too have to lead the charge. You have to be sold to the concept as much as your technocrats, because it's not just you talking about it, but whatever we put in place, these new tools you yourself have to utilize. And that is one of the huge problems that we have had, where you're not just changing the minds and selling it to the technocrats, but surprisingly, the same persons who asked you to come in to execute, you also have to sell it to them to make them realize how it will simplify their lives, because they want their organization, meaning their teams, to do it, but they still want to use their folders, their binders. They want the data still printed and handed to them in a particular format. They don't want to change. So before even we get into where is the data or anything else, it's changing the minds from the top all the way down to the bottom of how this can really create an amazing experience for the organization and an efficient experience for the organization.
And the thing is, COVID did that in less than 12 months.
Definitely.
And it's all again because they were forced into a direction, and it's not the best way to approach business. You should be prepared, but hey, we live in a real world. Things like that happen. So they were forced into a direction. They were uncomfortable. But the thing is, we need to realize also that we had to realize, sorry, that it wasn't just about changing, the way they do things, or injecting technology into the operation. It was also actually changing mindsets, as you said. Changing their mindset was the biggest part. And
Yes.
it was in some instances very challenging, and it would actually stall projects because we have to now explain to you explicitly, and alleviate most of the fears. What's going to happen to your data, where it's going to be now, how are you going to be able to process it. And that's why when we look for solutions, or we implement solutions, we look for things that would mirror very closely to what you're accustomed doing, and things that you're accustomed seeing in your environment. So the familiarity is there, so we have
Mhm.
that to go along with it. So
and to reduce that learning curve as well, eh?
correct, exactly. Just to reduce that element of a steep learning curve. I mean, we all know about flattening the curve now because of COVID. It applies here
Definitely.
too. And it was that, and some of the stories in the back. It's crazy. Helping them to understand, where the data is now. How do we connect these pieces together? And what I think is critical when you look at what's happening globally, the world is going to come out different. It's going to be a different world, especially the business environment. A lot of our business partners and other business associates are closed right now. They can't operate. They have to, as we call, pivot, or restart in some instances. You know, the world is going to be different. Things are going to be different. We've all been pushed to this platform of online internet related, internet based, internet centric, however you want to call it.
Mhm.
We're not going to just all fall off. At least I hope not.
No.
We're going to be existing in there, for some time and probably develop on that platform. So it's going to be a new world. It's going to be a new
And,
space.
and one of the things to Scofield is even the simplest of tasks, we've now been able to show them the benefits of technology. Yeah. Take, for example, a meeting. We had many clients that absolutely refused to have virtual meetings. So we would spend half an hour to an hour just physically getting to that client, trudging through traffic. Everybody knows about the Trinity traffic, getting there, having those meetings, and then, of course, getting back into your vehicle and trudging back to the office.
Yeah, repeating the same
2 hours easily of wasted time. And all they had to do is literally click, and we would be having a conversation, a meaningful conversation. We could have been able to share our screens if we had presentations to do. And these same clients who were so resistant about that simple change are now 100% on board. Show me how to share my screen. How can I do this? How can I do that? They're eager to learn. We have even taken up that opportunity to create small training videos. So depending on whatever platform the client is accustomed using, we have training videos which will now show them how they share their screen, how they do presentations, so that when they're actually engaging with other vendors or in any other environment, they can now feel comfortable utilizing that platform. So that's why we say it's not just digital transformation. It's not just shoving technology down your throat, but it's showing you how some simple tasks that you perform on a daily can easily be executed and still maximizing on time.
Yeah, and something that a lot of them couldn't really appreciate was the accountability that software would bring. The auditability of it. You can tell when a transaction has started or a process has started, and you can tell who touched it, when they touched it, how long they worked in it, and then at the end of the day,
Definitely.
you can get a report on everything that happened with that transaction. And spooling reports, getting data, because we live in a data-driven world. Getting that data
Real-time
real
data.
time makes a
Time
difference.
data.
It really makes a difference in terms of knowing what products are selling. Like, for instance, we have an inventory management system, and there was this popular without giving out the name of the company, this popular coffee shop that we like to go to. And every time we go there, they're out of cups, the small cups. And I'm like, why are you out of small cups? Things like
Mhm.
an inventory management system would help with that, would help in letting you know when your thresholds are running lower. You know,
Exactly.
what it tell you, alert you when there's a reorder point so that you don't run out of items.
And
And
the
it's,
thing is true, Scofield, without cutting across, is not just telling you when you run out of it. The systems are automated. So
yeah,
when you hit your threshold, an automated email goes out telling the requisite person, hey, guess what? You need to send more cups to whichever particular branch it is. And these
yeah,
are just, and this is where we talk about the efficiencies that the system can create to just make sure that your company isn't stopped, it doesn't prevent a sale, because everything is literally running like a well-oiled machine.
yeah. Because in some environments, to know what the reorder threshold is or what the reorder point is, somebody have to go into the warehouse. Somebody
And
has to go into the
physically
inventory room
count.
and physically go counting those things out. So you
Yeah.
having somebody in there doing that daily, or whenever you need to know, okay, are we running low, or you suddenly realize we ran low on a product and you're in the middle of production. I mean, the software is there to help. So that was another interesting backstory, you know, from clients that, we implemented the inventory management system by, the efficiency that it brought to the environment, the operations, it really helped, even with fleet management, with their vehicles going out, accounting from transfers from one store to the next, so and you can track everything, without having all this paper every minute. Here, sign this. No, it's all digital. In some instances, you can actually timestamp and geo fence, stuff so that you know where your people are. So there's a lot of flexibility, you know. And I think when people realize that this is what digital transformation really is, they are blown and then they're sold. But it takes a while for them to get to that point because of the fear factor. And of course, there are other contributing factors, but mostly
Mhm.
fear.
And something else too with digital transformation, it really helps to standardize the processes in a lot of organizations. Because what Scofield and I have both experienced is that there is a particular process. You go into the organization, and depending on which person you speak to in the department, everybody has their own vision of how the process is supposed to run. And then there's management's vision. That eliminates that immediately. So therefore, you are sure that everybody is following the same guidelines. You ensure that there is proper auditing and proper audit trail each step of the way. And most importantly, you ensure that the data is harnessed in such a way that you can get the reports that are so necessary for each point in the process. And but again, that comes from taking the time and really understanding your own internal processes. And a lot of organizations, surprisingly, they miss the bus with that. They have the end result. We need to have this at the end, so we're going to get this at the end. But the step-by-step processes are not there. It also helps with that. It ensures that that is sorted out.
And even on that point, not even reporting, it's funny now, but even with COVID, and this is probably something relatable to everybody,
Mhm.
with this COVID and this surge that we've had, a lot of companies were now printing forms,
Yes,
a COVID declaration form that you're creating a touch point,
I remember that.
and everybody have to use this form and sign and then submit to either HR officer or to your manager. So this form is going from person to person, it's transmitting this virus as we go along. And I
Mhm.
looked at that, some more customers, I'm like, why are they doing that? So it took me all of 20 minutes and I created a COVID template that would sit nicely in Microsoft 365 system, and you get your reports back in every time somebody completes the form
And it's
without having to
important
touch
to
it.
note, Scofield, not just a template, but you literally created the exact form that they were
Right.
using in the physical environment. So there wasn't even a learning curve. Literally, what they're accustomed seeing in the physical space is what they saw in the digital
Yeah.
space. The benefit of it is now the information was hitting their managers in a
Mm-hmm.
real time way. Now the
Yeah.
managers could have gotten reports in a very real time way to know who's present, who's absent, who has any sort of issues taking place, versus what was happening before. When you submit that physical form, somebody needs to sit down and go through form by form by
Yeah.
form during the course of the
Yeah.
day,
And
then
sanitizing yes.
collate a report, and then submit the report. And as we all know by now, that time lag while they're doing all of that, COVID could spread.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
Yeah. And then this platform, was mobile ready. So you can do that anywhere. You don't have to have
Mhm.
a fixed system to do that. Once you have a full internet connection, they can complete the form. So it's just simple tools like that, I think, really help people to appreciate what technology can afford and what it brings to business. And as SMEs, we need to understand that also, that the technology is there for that. So that's the reason why, we decided that, what, you all needed this blueprint. We need to have a standardized working document or working framework, how we should go about approaching this whole process of utilizing technology effectively to drive your business, to drive global competitiveness. And that's the whole reason for this webinar series that we're going to be doing. It's just that, to drive that understanding and appreciation for how technology can assist. So it's going to be on Thursdays, every Thursday at 4 o'clock. Look out for the artwork. We are already publishing some of the art. Look out for it. Book your spot because it's going to be going fast. And we want it to be an interactive session. We want you to ask your questions. We want to have a discourse with you and answer these questions, even though you may not be you may be shy to ask your questions on the day. Email in your questions. We will happily answer them next session, or we might contact you one-on-one and answer your question. So we want it to be a learning experience for everybody. And feel free, guys, make sure and register for this webinar series.
And one more thing I want to mention, it's not a technology webinar. So there needs to be no apprehensions if you're not a tech-based person. This is really a webinar for you to fully appreciate how to take your company and help it to compete globally. Anyone can participate, can ask questions. So Thursday at 4 p.m. from June. Thanks, guys, for joining us today. See you there.